It is important to recognize that excuses never equal results. In the case of Laman and Lemuel, all of the excuses in the world could never get those plates. The reason Nephi obtained the plates and Laman and Lemuel didn't is because Nephi never went to the anti-responsibility list. He was a champion, and champions do not turn to that list. As Elder David B. Haight of the Quorum of the 12 stated, a determined man finds a way. The other man finds an excuse. If the anti-responsibility list is so dangerous, why do so many people frequently turn to it? It is because the natural man is irresponsible by nature. He goes to the list as a defense mechanism to avoid shame and embarrassment, stress and anxiety, and the pain and negative consequences of mistakes and sin. Rather than repent to eliminate guilt, he sedates it with excuses. It gives him this false sense that his environment or someone else is to blame, and therefore he has no need to repent. The anti-responsibility list could also be called the anti-faith list because it halts progress dead in its tracks. When Satan tempts a person to avoid responsibility, they subtly surrender their agency because the person is no longer in control or acting. Rather, they become objects who are being acted upon, and Satan cleverly begins to control their life. It is important to note that everyone occasionally fails in their attempts at success, just as Nephi did with his brothers in their first 2 trips to Jerusalem trying to obtain the plates. But the valiant accept responsibility for their mistakes and sins. They repent, get back on their feet, and continue moving forward in faith. They may give an explanation or a reason for their lack of success, but not an excuse. At first glance, it may appear that Adam was blaming Eve when he said, "The woman thou gavest me." However, when Adam subsequently adds, "and I did eat," we are given to understand that he accepted responsibility for his actions and was giving an explanation, not blaming Eve. And Eve in turn also said, "and I did eat." Turning to the anti-responsibility list is an act of self-betrayal. It is to give up on oneself and sometimes others. As I share the following stories, I hope you will observe how going to the anti-responsibility list is counterproductive, even if you are right. Story number 1, the distribution center. In 1983, a few partners and I started a new company which taught time management seminars and created and sold day planners. For corporate seminars, we sent our consultants to the client's headquarters where they taught at the corporate training facilities. Prior to the seminar, 2 employees in our distribution center would prepare and ship several boxes of training materials such as the day planner, binders, and forms. Also included was a participant seminar guidebook of around 100 pages with quotes, fill-in-the-blanks, graphs, illustrations. The 2 distribution center employees would normally send the seminar shipment about 10 days before the seminar. At the time the following incident occurred, we were teaching around 250 seminars each month. With so many seminar shipments, these 2 employees would often commit errors, such as not shipping sufficient quantities or omitting certain materials or not shipping on time. This became an irritating and often embarrassing frustration for the consultants. When these problems occurred, the seminar division would file a complaint with me, as the distribution center was one of my responsibilities. When I spoke to these 2 employees about errors and system improvements, they never wanted to accept responsibility for the errors. They would blame others, like saying, "It's not our fault. The seminar division filled out the seminar supplies request form incorrectly, and we sent the shipment exactly according to their specifications. It's their fault. You can't blame us." Or they might say, "We shipped it on time, but the freight company delivered it late. You can't blame us." Or another excuse was, "The binder subsidiary packaged the individual seminar kits with errors, and we shipped the kits as they were given to us. It's their fault." It seemed these two employees were never responsible for the errors, and so the errors continued. Then something critical happened. The director of training for a large multinational corporation attended one of our seminars and was so thrilled with it that she invited us to teach a pilot seminar to its 50 or so top executives. On the day of the seminar, our consultant arrived and opened the boxes of materials and discovered that the seminar guidebooks were missing. Without the seminar guidebook, how would the participants follow along and take notes? Their training director was panic-stricken. Our consultant did the best he could by making sure each participant was given a pad of paper on which to take notes throughout the day, and the seminar turned out reasonably well even without the guidebook. Extremely embarrassed and angry, their training director called our seminar division and said, "You will never teach here again. How could you have made such an embarrassing and inexcusable error with our pilot seminar?" An upset senior vice president of our seminar division called me and said, "This is the last straw. We're about to lose $1 million account because of the distribution center's errors. We simply can't tolerate any more errors." And as one of the owners of the company, I couldn't tolerate such errors either. But at the same time, I did not want to see these two breadwinners fired. After pondering possible solutions, I decided to implement an incentive system to motivate these two men to be more careful. For each seminar shipped correctly, they would receive $1 additional, or a possibility of an extra $250 each month, hopefully enough to focus their attention on quality. However, if they made one error, a $1 penalty wasn't much of a loss. I therefore decided to also include two $100 bonuses for no errors. With the first error, they not only lost $1, but the first $100 bonus. If they made a second error, they lost the second $100 bonus. I also told them, if there is an error, you will lose your bonus, regardless of where that error originates. You are 100% responsible for that shipment. "Well, that's not fair," they responded. "What happens if the seminar division fills out a seminar supply request form incorrectly and not knowing we send the shipment with their errors?" I said, "You will lose your bonus. You are 100% responsible for that shipment's success." "Well, that's not fair. What happens if we send the shipment on time, but the freight company delivers it late?" I said, "You will lose your bonus. You are 100% responsible." "That's not fair. What happens if the binder division commits errors in prepackaging the individual seminar kits? You can't blame us for their mistakes." "You will lose your bonus," I once again responded. "You are 100% responsible for that shipment's success. Do you understand?" "That isn't fair." "Well, it may not seem fair, but that's life. You will lose your bonus." What I did was to eliminate the anti-responsibility list as an option for them. They now understood that they could no longer blame, make excuses, or justify errors even when they were right and it was someone else's fault. What happened next was fascinating to observe. When they would receive an order from the seminar division, they would call the seminar division up to review the form with them item by item. They took responsibility for correcting any errors committed by the seminar division. They began to read the freight company's documents to make sure the correct delivery date was entered. They began to mark the cardboard shipping boxes 1 of 7, 2 of 7, etc., with the box contents written on the outside of the box. They began sending the shipment 3 or 4 days earlier than their previous routine. A few days before the seminar, they would call the client company to verify receipt of the shipment and the contents. If they somehow omitted any materials, they had 3 or 4 extra days now to send missing items by express shipment. Errors finally stopped, and they began to earn their bonus month after month. It was a life-changing experience for them to learn firsthand the power, control, and reward of being 100% responsible. What these two employees learned is that when they blamed someone else, they were surrendering control of the shipment success to others. the seminar division or the freight company, etc. They learned that excuses keep you from taking control of your life. They learned that it is self-defeating to blame, make excuses, or justify mistakes, even when you are right. The moment you do any of these self-defeating things, you lose control over the positive outcomes you are seeking in life.